Welcome to Scary Basement. Each week, me and my friend Mikey are drawn inexplicably and supernaturally to this basement, wherein lurks every scary thing that has ever been, including an evil tree man, a camera that steals your soul when it takes your picture, a cute little dog possessed by a demon, and a killer tomato who has vowed not to kill again. Yet, I'm Roxy Polk.
And I'm Mikey McCollor.
Mikey, let's start out, as we always do, with the scariest things that happened to us this week. So what went down in your life outside of the scary basement that spooked you to your very bones?
Roxy, I read a damn creepypasta that was very short and haunted me.
Ooh, which one?
And I will read it for you now.
Okay. I wonder if I've heard this before.
It's like one of those internet posts, so it's just got a picture of a deer in the woods.
Okay.
And it says, I was hunting with my grandfather for my 19th birthday about a year ago, and we both watched a deer slam its head into a rock until its antlers and skull were shattered. Once its brains were everywhere, it tried to lick them up and looked like it couldn't even use its jaw or tongue right, so it just stood upright like a fucking human and just walked into the river and died. We left immediately, and my granddad was fucking terrified. I haven't been near woods since, and he moved to Florida with my grandmother for, quote, safety reasons. A truly terrifying story about how little we understand about nature.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like it, had rabies or something. Like, there was something wrong with it. That's
trying to lick
terrifying.
up your own brains, I think, is the scariest thing I can imagine.
Yeah, and then it walking on its hind legs and then just walking in some water and dying. Like, I thought it was, maybe going to start jumping from tree to tree or something, and it was going to transform into something else. But no, it just went and died. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people walking through the woods saw it and looked at it as a beacon of hope.
I mean,
this deer can get through that. Why can't I get through my current layoff at my job?
No, Mike, you're just going to walk into the river and die. So, sorry. The symbol of hope is dead.
Not the worst idea I've ever heard. Roxy, what was the scariest thing that happened to you this week?
Kind of similarly, I've been listening to some scary stories. So I think it was either last week or maybe a couple weeks ago that I told you about how I actually got down a rabbit hole of YouTube videos recounting people's scary stories and happenings in the woods. So similarly, maybe that's where that deer story came from too. It would fit right in.
The woods are scary, dude.
They are terrifying.
We should not go in the woods anymore.
I never want to. These stories, I never really liked going in the woods before, but after, listening to all these stories, I'm like, there's no point. The risk is that you get disappeared forever or, kidnapped by a Sasquatch or...
And the reward is that you, go camping? Camping's stupid.
It, feels gross. You don't get to take a shower. There's no indoor plumbing. The majesty of nature is pretty, but...
I have so many friends who love camping.
You do?
I have so many friends who love camping, and I don't want to shit on their thing, and I know a lot of people love it, and they appreciate it, but I don't get it. I don't get why you would make your life harder for a vacation.
Yeah, I don't either. I get going on a hike to go see, a pretty spot where it's, a couple hours out of your day. And you're not investing in carrying a giant pack, and then you have to sleep out there and stuff.
Yeah, you don't sleep. What was the scary thing you saw?
Yeah, sorry. Okay, anyways, big old tangent. So, because I was listening to those, I ended up dominoing into a whole bunch of scary stories about people going into caves, specifically caves, and having bad things happen, including underwater caves. And I'm not exactly talking about, one specific story, but just... I'm terrified of being trapped in a cave. The first scary movie I picked for us to watch was The Descent, because that's scary. We were just talking about, why would you ever go to the forest, make your life harder, and then, maybe you disappear forever? Who knows? A cave is even more so, why would you ever go there? There's so many people who are I want to chart this really weird, fucked up cave that nobody has ever done before just so I can put my name on it, I guess, and then they get trapped in there and die, and people can't even take their bodies out because it's, so messed up down there.
Who are you, Magellan? You don't need to go explore the unknown, all right? Just stay in the known. Stay in New Jersey. Franklin Jersey already found New Jersey, put his name on it, and nobody remembers him.
Well, also, what is the payoff? You just have mapped, a cave system. It's not like you're going to find some unknown civilization or creature or, I don't know, treasure that a pirate left. I don't know. Well, the payoff is just that you get to put your name on the thing and just be I'm hardcore because I traveled all the way down there.
Yeah, you can just buy the rights to name a star. It feels like way less dangerous. You fill out some paperwork and move on with your life.
I feel like there's also going to be a way for, in the future, just send a robot or something in there, because there's tiny spaces that humans can't fit into. Like, one of the spooky ones, well, not spooky, but like really tragic stories, was about this older guy who was going with a group of people, and for some reason, just like his rope snapped, and he got super injured, and they couldn't pull him out, because you have to be able-bodied to, like, squeeze through all of these openings and, like, shimmy your way through these segments, and it's like they literally couldn't pull him out unless they dismembered him after he died, because, spoiler alert, he died in the cave, and that was the only way they could pull him out, and it still took days.
Horrifying.
Yeah, so, that's my scary thing for this week.
Of course the humans would want to send a robot into a dangerous place because you're too scared. No concern if the robot gets hurt.
Oh, Demon Bot. We were talking shit about robots and we didn't realize that
more like the robot would be more capable, Demon Bot. The robot would be better at it than the human. So I was complimenting Demon Bot. I don't know about you, Mikey.
Well then, that would be different. Anyway, this week you were assigned the 2018 film Headcount, directed by L. Callahan and starring Isaac J. Lee, and Ashley Morgan. Did you watch the film or are your souls forfeit?
Yes, I
Roxy,
watched.
I did watch the movie Headcount. Did you?
Yes, I did watch the movie Headcount.
Good, then you may keep your souls. At least so long as you remember to respect robots.
Okay, yeah, so, Mikey, we watched Headcount this week.
We did. It was a 2018 movie. It's currently available on Tubi.
Right. Which means it's for free. It was on Netflix at one point. Like, I originally watched it on Netflix, but then, yeah, I think I saw it on Tubi this time around.
Roxy, for anybody who hasn't seen the film Headcount, what do you say we do a quick plot recap?
Yeah, let's do it. Sounds good.
All right, Headcount, the movie begins with a spooky poem. A hisgy is a vengeful thing. 5 times its names you never sing. With skin pale white and eyes of green. It's something you've already seen. And then the first shot of the movie is a pale college boy with green eyes. Just what's going on? Who is this?
It's our main character, Evan, who is unable to go with his cool friends on a trip and is instead spending spring break with his weirdo brother, Peyton, who lives in a trailer out in the middle of the desert. His bro meditates and gets high on life, but not drugs. The two go on a hike and encounter a group of college kids who are smoking weed and partying in the middle of nowhere. Evan wants to hang with them, hitting it off specifically with a girl named Zoe, who also seems to be hitting it off with him. But brother Peyton isn't really feeling the hangout.
As the two brothers depart together, Evan is bummed out to not be partying with the cute girls that he likes. Peyton notices this and tells his brother to go ahead and hang with them. He doesn't want to stand in the way of him meeting a girl he likes. Peyton has basically become the stand-in parent, being both a father and mother figure to Evan. So he lets his brother go, even when he obviously wanted to spend time with him.
College kids drink and party, and then get down to telling spooky stories around the campfire. One kid tells a terrifying tale. Then it's Evan's turn. He's the new guy in the group. Better not fuck it up. Unfortunately, he's an awkward kid and doesn't really know what story to tell. So the group gives him a website, and he chooses a random spooky story to tell. It's more like a poem, really. It's about a creature called the Hisgy. Evan reads out the story, saying its name 5 times, and it's the exact same line at the beginning of the movie that we saw.
Unfortunately for Evan, his story completely bombs, everyone thinking it's kind of lame, which is not fair. He is just reading from a website. It's the website that's lame, not Evan.
Truly.
And everyone makes that connection that therefore Evan is the one who is lame, not the story he read. They then decide to go back to drinking. As the group heads inside, a door to the nearby cabin closes on its own. Zoe and Evan go to the hot tub and drink tequila. There they talk about their group of friends and get a little flirty, eventually sharing a kiss. However, they hear a noise and see someone standing in the dark in the distance watching them with glowing eyes.
Not sure what they're seeing, they go back inside the house to drink with the others. Eventually, Evan and Zoe spend the night together. Strangely, the next morning, Evan awakes and finds the front door wide open. He then checks the nearby cabin, and he finds a strange symbol burned into the wall, and it's a fresh burn at that. Equally strange. Then, a similarly strange blonde woman shows up behind him, and disappears the moment Zoe shows up.
The group starts their morning with drinks and weed, and then goes on a hike. Evan says they're missing someone, the blonde girl he saw earlier, but the others have no idea who he's talking about. While on the hike, Zoe falls off a small cliff, injuring her ankle, and says that felt like she was a passenger in her own body while it happened. One of the group members also appeared to be in 2 locations at once, further confusing everyone about what's going on.
Later that night, Peyton shows up, worried about his brother not contacting him or coming home for several days when he said he would. The group accused Peyton of being the one messing with them and showing up outside the other night. But he says it wasn't him, and reveals that the only reason why he knew where Evan was because he has a teen tracker on Evan's phone, an app for parents to keep track of their little baby kids. Peyton has done this since he had to be a parent to his little brother after their actual parents died.
The group makes fun of Evan for this, which is insane. So, embarrassed, Evan refuses to go home with Peyton and stays with the rowdy college kids, even though they're all laughing at him, thinking he's lame. It's really a big L for Evan. Peyton leaves, the kids start drinking and playing games again. The number 5 starting to show up more and more as the night wears on. During the game, a duplicate of one of the group shows up. One guy is sitting at the kitchen table, and then that same guy leans in from the kitchen and is like, hey, what's going on? That's when the lights go out. The kids search for the intruder and find no one. The drinking continues, and they all get blackout drunk.
That's what I'd do if I found a monster in my house, you know. The next morning, the number 5 shows up in almost every object around the house. 5 bottles, 5 images on a painting that weren't like that the night before, 5 stacks of hot dogs in the fridge, you know. Normal stuff. Noticing something is off, Evan investigates the History legend more online and finds out that actual real-life disappearances have been linked to the History story. And repeating it 5 times is what started it, just like he did. Freaked out, Evan decides to leave and go to his brother's place. He doesn't want none of this anymore. However, as he's about to leave, Zoe, who should still be too injured to go outside, stops Evan from leaving by seducing him with a little kiss. He agrees to go on one last hangout with her.
It's so funny to me that you would be too injured to go outside.
Yeah.
You're like, my ankle is broken, and if it touches the air. When Evan shows up to get in the car, the others tell him that Zoe won't be coming, and in fact, she's still in bed. She's too injured to go outside. Confused, Evan still decides to go along with the group, and on the way there, he realizes that there are 5 people back at the house, and now 5 people outside the house. Sensing that something is wrong, Evan insists they go back ASAP and drive through the night to get back to the house.
When they return, they find blood outside the house in a ring encircling the whole place. Also, the house is completely ransacked and messed up inside, with a strange altar of trash arranged in multiples of 5. There's also evidence that people may have killed themselves, but no bodies. As if the corpse have been deleted from existence, but that toaster in the bathtub full of water that did them in is still there. They find Zoe outside, and Evan knows it isn't her anymore. It's the History.
As the rest of the crew makes it back, there are now 5 people in the house again. It's number 5. It's popping up everywhere. The History Zoe compels the others to start killing themselves. The creature then reveals itself to be a horrifying monster with gray inhuman skin and giant green bug-like eyes. The kids run and barricade themselves inside the house, trying to run from the History. However, its power can compel those in its domain to do what they want, causing them to start killing themselves. Soon, Evan is the only one left.
Evan fails to stop the others in their suicidal tasks and runs, only to find that he can't leave the creature's domain. He keeps ending up right back where he started, seeing the entire area reflected in a mirror image. He finds refuge in the small cabin that had the marks on the wall that he saw earlier, huddling there, knowing he cannot fight this creature. With the last of his strength, he leaves a message on his brother's cell phone, apologizing to him for abandoning him and treating him like shit, and saying that he really loves and appreciates him. Figure looms over Evan, and we cut to the next day.
Peyton arrives at the house looking for his brother, but the place seems empty and abandoned, but otherwise unscathed. The aftermath of the night before is nowhere to be seen, aside from the now burnt-down old cabin in the yard. Suddenly, Evan shows up, jump-scaring Peyton, and apologizing for being such a jerk. He now seems jazzed to hang out with Peyton, and especially with Peyton's hippie friends, unlike before, much to Peyton's delight. And as Evan's eyes shine bright green in the mirror of the car, we know this is not Evan, but the History assuming his form, and that Peyton and his friends will become his next victim. Roxy, that is the movie head count.
That's the movie head count.
Ooh, we got a History.
Yeah, I've never heard of this History creature before either, so I don't know if they thought of it up for the movie or what.
It does seem like it's an invention of the movie, and if not, I don't know if it has some cultural backing, but
yeah.
Do you do this? I feel like I've done this throughout my entire life. where I count 5 syllables in the lyrics.
Oh, really? I
Yeah.
have not done that.
So I like on my fingers, I'll go like, and sugar, we're going down swinging. And if it gets into a multiple of 5, I'm like, no, that's a good chorus.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why I've done that.
Are you secretly the history, Mikey? You really love the number 5?
No, I'm just a normal man.
Okay. I was going to say, if you were the history and you didn't tell me, then what even is our friendship anymore? How could you keep something like that from
Roxy,
me?
I promise you, if I ever become a history, I will tell you.
You better. Okay.
And I'll ask you to invite 3 of your favorite friends.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Roxy, what did we think of this movie? It's kind of it's got kind of a The Thing vibe. It's got teenagers who don't know each other super well and suddenly can't trust each other.
Yeah, I like how it kind of puts us in the mindset of the main character, Evan, because he is a stranger to this friend group. Because usually with these types of movies, you know, it would be like a group of friends who know each other all going on like, you know, a camping trip to drink and hang out and have sex and whatever, like most slasher type movies. But they kind of subvert that.
That's a good call. Yeah, they do what the TV pilots do, where there's like a new person at the office, and as we go around and introduce him to everybody at the office, they are getting to know the characters while we get to know the characters. No, that's
because we know just as much as he knows. Because like he likes Zoe, and they seem to be vibing, and then her one friend seems like really intent on like trying to hook them up, kind of. But there's Zoe's ex-boyfriend is there who doesn't really like them, so it's this dude who is kind of like a dick to him for the entire time, and you don't find out till later it's because Zoe is his ex and she broke up with him. So he's like butthurt over it about like just this new guy coming in.
Let's talk about this incredible relationship that we find out way too late in the movie. There's like a guy who's kind of a stereotype. I think his name is Max.
I can't remember,
and
but sure, he seems like
he's just
Max.
like a stereotypical jock who's like kind of a dick to Evan.
Yeah.
And then we find out, Roxy, that Evan, our character, just came out of nowhere. Zoe invited him back. And this is like Max's ex. Like, he's just like, also, is Max with somebody else? Like, everybody is in a couple, right?
He's got a new girlfriend. Yeah, so that's the thing that, like, when they're in the hot tub, she finally gives him the lowdown on, like, everybody's relationship except for the fact that what's-his-face is her ex-boyfriend, because she probably doesn't want to add to the baggage when she's trying to get with this new guy. But he's like, she's like, yeah, everybody's in a relationship, so I am like the 9th wheel. I'm the only one who's single and everybody else is dating each other.
Which is, real relatable.
So it's got to make like his current girlfriend feel like shit that he's still like getting all weirdly butthurt and defensive over his ex.
I was very excited about that twist, and I honestly forgot that, because here's the thing. This movie, it's called Headcount. So much of it is about, there are 10 people here, 5 and 5. They're constantly doing the like, how many people are here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because the history, we should say, I don't know if we've said it yet, the history gets its power from the number 5.
Yeah, and also its whole deal is that it assumes people's image. So like at the beginning when we read the poem, you know, it says it's something you've already seen, which like you don't quite know what that means until later, and that's because it will just take the spot of other people. So that was one of the interesting things to rewatch this, because I kept looking for that. I'd be like, which one is it? Where is it? Is there a duplicate? And like seeing the number 5 show up a lot more, it shows up in things that you wouldn't expect. So it was really neat on a rewatch to kind of like deconstruct it kind of like a puzzle a bit too.
I could see that. I would say my major issue with this movie is that it takes a long time to get into the fun of it.
It definitely does. There's way too much time spent on like the kids kind of dicking around and not as many like kind of spooky instances, but I think it kind of approaches it in such a grounded way. With Evan does feel very awkward, and like who wouldn't be with this group of new people you're trying to impress? Evan seems like a normal.
Not me. I'd be like, hey, I'm going to be myself. And they'd be like, whoa, you're pretty cool, Mikey McCollor.
Yeah, there you go. Well, our main character, he's obviously he feels like he can't really be himself. I don't know. He doesn't come across very confident at all. So I think it really kind of puts you in his shoes in like a more realistic way than you would have thought. Like, I suppose the acting and maybe the script writing is what we could credit about how, like, it does feel very naturalistic to be like, yeah, this is the new kid who, like, some of these people are, like, nice enough that they don't care either way. And then, yeah, some people are openly hostile. And it's kind of like, how do you ingratiate yourself or just integrate yourself into this new group of people that you want to be a part of? Just, like, instantly.
And I will say, this movie, I feel like I want to call this movie people I took an improv class with, the movie.
Really?
Like, all of these people I have had improv class. There's like the doofy stoner guy who does like weird little bits that nobody else gets. There's the guy who's hostile for no real reason. There's the girl who's just like, let's go on an adventure. She's wild. And then we have the people whose their whole personality is that they drink and do a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
And that, in early improv classes, Roxy, is ubiquitous. There's someone who's just like, well, what if the funny part of this scene is that we were doing drugs? And it's like, that's not funny. Drugs are never funny. You can do funny things while on drugs, but drugs aren't the joke.
Yeah.
Frustrating.
Yeah, and so I totally agree that they spent too much time on that. Like, I think in some ways, like I said, the interactions, even if they are naturalistic and like effective in their own way, it's kind of like, but it doesn't need to be. Like, this is kind of just padding in a way. Or like we're just kind of counting down them getting drunk before a spooky thing happens. And some of it feels like it might be a way to take us off guard. Because, for instance, when they're playing that drinking game and the way the camera is panning, and then you see the second guy pop up from the doorway right next to the other guy we don't know which one is the real guy, honestly. Then that like takes you by surprise. Same with like them in the hot tub, and you just pan over and you see this figure standing there just staring at them, not doing anything, not moving, but just looking at them, and his eyes don't look right. And they're just like, maybe we should go inside. And then they just like continue to get drunk and just act like it didn't happen, which is so stupid.
I do like this idea of like tone setting. It's like we set up this really natural relationship with these people, so then when we play with it just a little bit, it's joyful, right? It's to see this second version of this person just appear. But they do a lot of it. I feel like there's a lot of double beats in this movie. I feel like I want to go through this script with like a red pen and just be like, you already told us this. Like, we got the HISG thing. I feel like they explain the concept of the HISG 7 to 24 times. With a conservative estimate? I
mean, there's the poem at the beginning, then there's the story that Evan tells, and then there's when he looks it up on the website. But I would have rather had them, spend more time in like the HISG's domain, seeing it do things. I thought it was very interesting when they go back to the house and cross the line of blood, and like the house is turned inside out, and I said it was kind of like ransacked looking, but it's also just strange things like there's a t-shirt like pinned to the wall in like a weird pattern that like doesn't need to be. And then, you see like the aftermath of like a fork jammed into an electrical socket. And when you first see that, you're like, what the hell is the deal with that? And it isn't until you see like a noose in a closet and then, the toaster in the bathtub full of water, you're like, wait a minute. Okay, were people like preparing ways to die or what? And then you learn that like the HISG is absorbing them or something. We don't exactly know what it does. It just says like we're all gonna be together vaguely.
I will say, and you tell me your opinions on this, Roxy. I felt like this movie sort of had the structure of a Twilight Zone episode.
Yes,
and I this is gonna sound crazy to say, I'm not a huge Twilight Zone fan because
we all got preferences.
No, I'm wrong. The Twilight Zone is objectively great, but it's just like the way that the stories are structured, it just feels like there's a lot of plotting and it builds up to one really fun moment at the end. And this movie, I think, is so much fun at the end when they reveal what's going on and we're like kind of fighting it and we don't really have a chance and we're seeing all these like little 5 statues coming out. But thinking about that when compared to like a slasher movie where like we reveal what the monster is and then we see him do his thing a couple times throughout the movie and build up to like the ultimate climax. I don't know. I think that's maybe a preference thing. That's just something I like a little more, where we can, like, if there had been a couple of like fun little kills, like they hint throughout this movie and then they do it. And I would like hint, do it, hint, do it, hint, do it.
Yeah, I think the way that it sets it up, it's kind of like a spider crafting a web for them all to fall into. So like when they all do at the end, it's an interesting set of dominoes to watch. But I think because it's movie length, it takes away from it. So I can totally see what you mean like that. Mentioning Twilight Zone, this would be so much better if it was more like 45 minutes or something.
Yep.
Like I think it would be much more effective if we could see it that way because you don't need that much setup. And like the CGI when you see the creature, I kind of almost wish they didn't.
It's kind of bad, right?
It's very bad, unfortunately.
Yeah.
sci-fi original channel movie kind of way when they show the whole thing. When they show the close-up of the face, it's kind of okay. But then when they pull out to see the whole body, I was like, oh no, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done that.
I think I would have preferred to just never see the creature.
Yeah, either you never see it or maybe practical effects or something.
There was like when we first see the creature in the hot tub.
Yes.
And we're like very far away from it. We just see like a silhouette with like little glints of eyes. Like, that's cool.
Yeah, I thought it was very creepy, especially because you don't know what's going to happen when it happens, so it does take you off guard.
There is something we didn't really talk about that I think will kind of get us into the big idea of this movie. And this is, I think it's weird that the core of this movie, I would argue, is the relationship between Evan and his brother Peyton.
Yeah.
And Peyton's not in most of the movie. Like, it's kind of an interesting way to develop this relationship. Like, by his absence, we are learning more about him and learning more about Evan.
Yeah, I think so too, especially because the way it sets it up with him being like, you know, kind of this parental figure for him and wanting to do what's best for him is how we get in this situation where he's like, okay, I'll remove myself and like your obligation to me from this. You can go hang out with the cute girl you like. You can go hang out with these new kids and party. And yeah, he's definitely like the most likable character in the whole movie, I'd say, the brother Peyton, especially when we get the reveal that is, yeah, their parents died, and, like, that's why he's like this. And, like, he's living in a trailer out in the middle of nowhere, kind of like, he lives like a hippie, but doesn't, like, do drugs or anything. He's trying to convince him to, like, want to go to this thing called a sound bath, which he describes as it being like, you go and you sit in a place and they make some sound at you, and it makes it feel like you're vibrating in your bones or something, and it, like...
To be clear, this is the only bath Peyton has participated in
probably
a long, long time.
Who even knows? But yeah, like, you can tell that he cares very much about his brother. And, like, the younger brother is doing the younger brother kind of petulant kid thing where, like, he doesn't want to feel tied down by him, but does really care about him. So it's, like, incredibly painful. I'm just like, God, stop being a dick to your brother. He's so nice and cares about you. Stop it.
Yeah. I think this movie sends Evan on a pretty good arc where he starts out, you know, being a surly teen who's sick of his parental figure and then comes to realize that he misses him. The hyperbolic extrapolation of this, of a real situation that I think this movie is playing with is this idea that, like, we can sometimes take our most important relationships for granted, right? Like, my brother is never going to abandon me, and I've got these new exciting friends, but he doesn't really know these people, and I think, again, that's what's being dialed up here. He doesn't know these people, and even when he gets to know them, he finds out that some of them could be a hisgy.
Yeah.
The idea that, like, it's morally incorrect to slice off the people who care about you the most for new people that you're, like, kind of excited about, I think is... you know, it's like it does feel a little Aesop's Fable-y. Like, maybe. By being as mean to his brother, Evan earned his fate by choosing these nightmare creatures that even before they literally became a nightmare creature.
I could definitely see that take. I think, the big idea for it for me, too, is, you can sometimes take the people close to you for granted. And maybe don't do that at the expense of new friendships. Like, he should be able to make new friends without, like, having to divorce himself from his brother and thinking that he needs to do that to stand out and be cool, I guess. And then the history is like, you tried to shortcut it by not appreciating your family, I guess.
There is also this question of, like, how well you know people that I think is really interesting. Like, coming throughout, like, this new group of people is also, even if there was not a literal monster, it's like, they could still be monsters. They could be, like, weirdly cool.
You have no idea. Like, especially going to stay at this house they rented, and it's 9 other people you don't know. And it's definitely, like, a dude move. Like, I don't think any girl in that situation, no matter how into a dude she would not go to that house alone.
That's a great point.
At least I sure as hell would not. My danger sensors would be like, oh, they're going to murder me. No, thank you.
Even if there were a couple other girls there who were like, oh, you're so fun, come hang with us. Like,
I mean, that would be more likely to convince me for sure. But I think at the same time, I've seen too many real life crime drama things. Too many true crime podcasts have learned me away from stuff like that. But there's also the point that, like, our main character gets told so many times weird things happen and he should be listening to his gut, but he doesn't. He, like, brushes it off to be like, no, I still want to keep my cool with these guys. Because there's a couple times when the creature first shows up, he kind of, like, looks around the house and tries to make sure things are locked. And the jock dude who doesn't like him, like, mocks him for being, like, a pussy about it. And then, like, later, when he, like, keeps doubling down, he's like, okay, fine, I'll lock it for you, you big weenie, and, like, makes a huge big show out of it.
This movie has such a, like, simplistic morality that it's just like, you should lock your door, and if any characters in this movie who don't lock their door are villainous.
Well, it's just such a weird thing to be like, oh, you want to be safe? What a lame-o. Like, what? Dude's weird. Because, like, nobody else really cares. In fact, some of them, I think, like, the blonde girl who was, like, trying to help Zoe get with Evan is like, why are you being such a dick about it? Like, you're weird. But he just doubles down because he's doesn't like Evan getting with his ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, no, we should, everything in this movie that we see Max do, we should, in our regular lives, not do.
Do the opposite. What did he do? Do
For
the
instance,
opposite of that.
hiking.
There you go.
I think they were hiking.
At the end, like, so they go hiking a couple of times, and the one that they interrupt when Evan's like, wait a minute, there's 5 people back there and there's 5 people here. Oh shit. They're gonna, like, go hike into an old abandoned mine. Like, that was what they were going to go do. It's like, okay, I'm glad you guys didn't do that, even though it would have been fun to see a different location. But, like, that was Max's idea. He was super jazzed about going into an old abandoned mine.
It did feel like they were about to go and do the descent.
Yes.
Again.
Yeah, it did.
Which I wouldn't have mind. It would be very funny to me if in the middle of this movie, they just go and have an entire descent-style adventure where they find monsters that they kill, and then they escape there, and then they continue on fighting the Hisji.
There you go. There's also,
a
like,
side quest.
Yeah. There was a subtle clue, too, about what happened to the family who owned that house that I didn't really notice my first time through. So, like, you see a photo, and there's 5 family members in the photo, one of which is a girl with long blonde hair, who you will see later. Evan passes by her, I think maybe the second or third morning. She's sitting on the couch, and he passes by her not thinking about it, but, like, because the door is open. So he's so focused seeing, like, why is the door open? That's weird. And that's when he goes and sees, like, the burnt symbol on the wall, and then she's behind him, so the girl with long blonde hair is, like, following him out there to see him discover it. And that's like,
cool.
One of the people from the family who lived there before, so you get the impression that everybody from that family got taken by the Hisji before them. And that's why it's hanging out there as well. Especially because, like, he doesn't really know the group of friends. So even though there's 9 people who he's seen for, like, at least a day, he didn't really keep it in his brain who they were because he was drunk. So he's like, yeah, what about that girl with the long blonde hair? Where is she? And they're like, no, there's only one girl with blonde hair, and it's the one with the curly hair who's standing right over there. And he's like, oh.
That's a good catch.
Okay.
I saw that photograph of the original family and was like, oh, I'll bet that'll come into play. And then remember thinking back on it, like, that never paid off, but I guess it did. Did. I didn't notice.
The thing is, too, like, who did they rent it from? I just kind of assumed it was like an Airbnb thing, so just like renting it for the weekend or something.
Yeah,
so
I didn't like that the Airbnb profile picture was silhouette with green eyes from very far away that was taken at night.
Yeah, they should have known better, honestly. So this movie also kind of deals with the aspect of this being an online legend that gets perpetuated, kind of like a creepypasta. Like, they find it randomly on a website and just talk about it that way. So how did you feel thinking about it, like, as, oh, what if any of these creepypastas, like, some of them sound so goofy or things you've already heard before, but what if, secretly, one of them is gonna kill you?
Damn, I had not considered that creepypasta angle of it. You're right. I feel like a lot of creepypastas have that element of, and now, by having read the story, you too are going to be consumed by the Majora's Mask son, whatever they are, right? Like, they try to involve you, and I do generally get freaked out by those. I guess there's a layer of separation between me and the characters in this movie that I wasn't necessarily, like, worried about it, but I do think, like, I like that angle. Yeah,
I think concept-wise it was a cool choice for them to make, because, yeah, we've read so many creepypastas like that, you know, so it feels familiar. And, like, they even dunk on it for sounding lame, because there's plenty of those ones written by someone who's 12 years old who read Slender Man fan fiction or something, the original Slender Man story, and was like, I'm going to make my own version of that.
I will say, the way that they articulated that creepypasta-ish business where Evan eventually, like, opens up a laptop and is, like, typing and hacking.
He did that thing in every horror movie where the character has to go on the internet to find out about the legend of the thing, which is unfortunate that they couldn't avoid that trope that is in so many horror movies.
And also, like, it was, like, digitally distorting as though there was a ghost in the machine. It's like, the Hisji doesn't have that power. The Hisji doesn't...
Yeah, why would it do that?
Although, I guess, if it did rent them the Airbnb maybe the History would be able to call and cancel the internet.
There you go. Yeah, he has to protect his online business. That's how he makes money in his off time. It makes so much sense.
Yeah, the History is like selling crystals.
Yeah, like every time there's a group of 5 people, he's like, finally, I get to hunt again and be me. I don't have to waste all my time selling these crystals to idiot tourists.
He hates it. Roxy, I got a question for you.
Okay, do you? What is it?
You ever tried real hard to hang out with the cool kids like our boy Evan did?
Oh, man. There's probably like earlier examples that, I don't know, I've blocked out of my mind or gotten over so I don't remember it anymore. But there was definitely a part at like the beginning of college where something like that sort of happened. It was more just about trying to make friends in general.
Roxy, was I the cool kid you were trying to make a friend with?
No, you weren't at the time, but you were a cool kid in college, Mikey. So you would have been here.
Hell yeah, I was.
But so I had like a really weird setup of how I would fly to college because the Alaska Airlines had a partner ticket thing. So there was like one other kid from my hometown who was going to the same college as me.
Okay.
Our parents had met up. We had talked and stuff to like figure out how we were. They had gone down to visit the college. So we talked to them to be like, what's it like? Because getting a plane ticket to go down there with several people was very expensive because it was in Minneapolis. Mm-hmm. So our parents were like, hey, we'll save on airfare by having this companion fare, which is first ticket is full price, second ticket is half price. So we were like travel companions for several years. This guy, very cute, very handsome, and he got along pretty well with people. Like he was relatively popular. And it definitely felt like we travel in different circles of people. And like we kind of attempted to sort of be friends at the beginning. So I remember like hanging out with him and some other people and being like so paralyzed of saying the wrong thing that I would just be really quiet because I wouldn't have as much to say. And then eventually it just kind of became the thing that he just thought I was a really quiet person or something. And I was like, I'm not though. I just don't know what to say to you and your friends, whatever we're talking about here.
Roxy, were they all wearing sunglasses and smoking cigarettes?
Yeah, and it was at night too, so that's how you knew they were really cool.
That's pretty cool.
Did
they have
the glowing green eyes and pallid gray skin? Yeah, they all did. I should have known they were his cheese.
I was gonna ask if they had the Red Ranger action figure because in my brain I was like, what is the coolest thing that the cool kids I knew had? And I do remember one of the coolest kids in my high school.
I was gonna say, oh, really?
In elementary school was that he got the Red Ranger action figure before the rest of us.
Oh, there you go. Funny story, though. That guy eventually abandoned me at an airport one time when they fucked up with tickets, and I was crying in an airport by myself.
That sucks.
It was very traumatizing, and I didn't think he was so cool or attractive after that. So I was like, yeah, probably a good idea I didn't spend time trying to become better friends with someone like that.
Ugh.
Anyway, Mikey, what about you? When was the time you tried to hang out with the cool kids and it went possibly wrong or something happened?
I remember in 4th grade, there was a kid who was super cool and we would always change our seating arrangements for whatever reason. And I got sat next to him and I was so excited. I was like, this is my chance. And a few days in, this is so embarrassing. Okay. I did 2 truly embarrassing things.
Okay.
Number 1, at some point, I asked this kid, whose name was Sam, Sam, would you consider you and me friends?
Oh no, Sam.
And he went like, yeah, I guess so. So that was cool. But then the other thing
so instantly he was like, yeah, it's fine. The problem solved? Or, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a second part to this, though.
Ask somebody that.
I mean, when you're little kids, how old did you say you were again?
It was 4th grade, so, 8 or 9?
Yeah, I don't think if somebody had asked me, I would even think twice about that. I'd be like, yes or no. It feels like kid logic where you can say that and have that said to you and not really think too much about it. But as an adult, yeah, it's kind of a strange thing to say, I suppose.
I feel a deep shame about that.
I don't think you should, but I understand why you do. I'm sorry, child Mikey.
Sam had a little catchphrase that he said. He had a cat named Frisky.
He was the cool kid and he had a catchphrase. Okay.
Yeah. And he would just be like, oh, Frisky Fresh. I remember him saying a lot. Oh, Frisky. Oh, look, now this is Frisky. Like, you can kind of picture that kind of verbiage catching on as a kid.
He was trying to make Frisky happen. He's trying to make, like, it be the new it word.
Sam was cool enough that he did make Frisky.
He made Frisky happen. Oh my God.
He made Frisky happen. And we all were saying
okay,
Frisky
well
so much.
now I know how cool he is. Now you have established
and it came
correctly.
from his cat.
Uh-huh.
And so this was the year that my cat had kittens. And so we had these 5 new cats that we had to name.
Wait, 5?
And I named, when they were 5. And that's when the History ate us.
Took
and
cats.
I named one of these cats Frisky.
Oh, okay.
After just like
in honor
trying
of his
to
cat.
emulate this cool kid at my school.
Uh-huh.
And then I remember telling him, I was like,
oh, you told him? Okay.
Yeah, I was like, I named my cat Frisky. And he was like, oh, cool. That's so cool, man. See, this is what was especially bad about this. Like, Sam wasn't a bully. He was like a nice kid.
Okay. Uh-huh.
but it was just, I was so desperate and sweaty. I was just like, I named my cat after the thing you say. And he was like, oh, cool, man, cool. If you ever do that thing where like your mom brings in your cat, you should have her bring it in so I can see what the new Frisky looks like.
Oh, okay.
And I did. Like that was the other thing. Like or not for my birthday, for everybody's birthday, somebody would just bring in a pet.
Oh, really? Like a show and tell
Yeah,
thing?
you'd have your mom like bring in, or if your family got a new dog or whatever, your family would bring in a new dog, and everybody could just see the dog. And so,
wow, this is a
brought in
wild school
Frisky.
tradition you had. We didn't have anything like that at my elementary school.
Yeah, as I'm talking about it, it's not like a thing that everybody does, but it was one of the things that I assumed everybody did.
Yeah,
so,
especially because like now if kids have allergies or something like, and they could just shit on the floor, I can't see any school like approving that to happen.
It's a great point.
But that's fun. Like, that's a really fun thing for kids, though, to just have, like, a cool animal interrupt your boring, like, work day of learning about fractions for the first time. Like, no, I want to hang out with a cat or a dog. Much more fun.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. You should get a petting zoo in the middle of school.
Yeah.
Just for no reason. There's not a reason for it.
For fun. The reason is fun. De-stress those children, I guess.
Roxy, on a scale from 1 to 9, because the number 10 does not exist in the Scary Basement, how likely would you say the events of whatever this movie was called, Head Count?
I forgot it already.
How likely would you say the events of Head Count are to happen in real life?
So I said 8 out of 9 because of trying to hang out with the cool kids and it maybe not going as planned. 8 out of 9. A supernatural monster trying to replace you, though, that's why it's not a 9 out of 9. Probably less likely that those two things happen at once. I hear that. I could guess maybe a monster is going to try and replace you in a different time, but not when you're also trying to hang out with the cool kids, man. So 8 out of 9. What about you, Mikey?
I said a 2 out of 9.
Ooh, okay.
And I am looking at this from the perspective of the cool kids.
Oh.
I don't think they would have let him hang out with them for that long.
That's a good point. I think
somebody would have said, dude, when are you, like, going home? I feel like the next morning, everybody's like, well, probably time for you to be going.
Well, I think, like, the actor, he looks kind of normal, but kind of, like, more conventionally attractive, so I feel like that probably got him a little extra mileage, whereas, like, if he were more of a stock, normal-looking dude, he's almost that. He's, like, above that to a degree.
He is absolutely bangable, and you're right, that does buy him. I feel like that buys him a half day.
Yes, yeah. So it's like
but
maybe
he does not spend 2 nights with strangers.
Yeah, especially the minute they like find out he's not really that cool, they'd be like, oh yeah, maybe he's just, you know, he's sort of hot, but he's like chill or something. Then they're like, oh no, he's just like awkward. Get him out of here.
Oh, I thought he was hot and chill. I have been betrayed.
He's just hot and awkward. Get out of here. Kick him out in the middle of the night.
Roxy, last week we made a bet about the movie Head Count. Do you think the third billed actor will survive by the end credit metrics? I said yes. I think the third billed actor would survive the film. What did you say?
Yeah, I said no, just because, like, I couldn't remember exactly, and I had no idea who it was going to be, and we can't both say yes, so I said no.
Roxy, I think everybody dies in this movie, right?
I mean, Peyton still lives, and if you count the history as somebody, he lives. It lives.
Peyton and the history. And listen, Peyton dies just
eventually.
Off screen.
Yeah, if there's a sequel, Peyton's dead.
So the answer is no. The third billed actor who we both had as Zoe, Ashley Morgan, is the third billed actor. She does not make it through the movie. So Roxy, that bet's going to you.
All right.
The total bet score as it stands is Roxy with 21, Mikey with 19, and Ty with 2.
All right.
Something will happen at 30.
What could it be? Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. It's impossible to ever know.
Only the before people know.
Roxy, let's talk. Okay, listen. The before people, the people who were in the scary basement before, I
Yes.
don't care what they did in the scary basement. They were nowhere near as innovative, as creative, as revolutionarily minded as you and I, because we have something big to announce, don't we?
You know, we sure do.
Roxy, we have to announce Halloween 2. We are going to make a second Halloween in the middle of the year.
You guys, it's Halloween too. We're making it happen.
Here's the thing. Halloween, it comes in October. It's my favorite time of year, without question.
We love it. We kind of love Halloween a lot and spooky things here. I don't know if you guys know that about us.
What do you do for Halloween, Roxy? What's your go-to Halloween, ritual?
Oh man, just nonstop scary movies, nonstop scary games. I'm usually always watching the movies or playing games with other people. Lots of candy. I love decorating the house, even though I'm not a huge seasonal decorator. I love spooky decorations and I get them out and it's a great excuse to have a skeleton on my wall. Even though I could just do that all year, but it feels more special when you only take the skeleton out to put on your wall. Sometimes.
And that's why we're going to, because you're right, you can't do it all the time, but we are going to simply double it.
Yes.
Everything you do at the end of October for Halloween, we are going to have everyone do in the middle of July. That's right. July 15th is now officially Halloween 2. Everything that you would do for Halloween, do it again on July 15th.
Hell yeah, get a costume, an excuse to buy yourself some candy, excuse to decorate. Like I said, stock up on scary stories, whether they're creepypastas or movies or video games, whatever flavor of spooky you prefer, go for it. So, Mikey, if we're going to make Halloween 2 a thing, we've got to go all out with our costumes.
You're right. And we have to be something scary. Because there's nothing I hate more than when people go as a sexy nurse or as Mario and Luigi. Halloween is about being scary.
Agreed. I feel the same way. I'm going to go as a werewolf. I have this really cool makeup I've been saving. Super terrifying.
That's cool. I'm going to go as the Fonz.
What? Wait, the Fonz? Like the cool biker guy from Happy Days or a different Fonz?
No. The Fonz. He's the cool biker guy from Happy Days.
Mikey, we just talked about this. The Fonz isn't scary. He's not a movie monster.
Right. I see the confusion here. I'm not going as the Fonz regularly. I'm going as the Fonz from the episode when he gets very sick.
From which episode?
You don't remember when the Fonz got very sick? There was this one episode he was just hey, I'm very sick.
Not at all. And that's weird because I'm a big Happy Days fan. I'm going to look this up.
Roxy, no, hold on, don't do it. It's honestly the most disturbing thing I ever saw on TV. It was right after Richie left the show, but then he came back because everyone was so sure that the Fonz was going to die. The doctors couldn't find anything wrong with the Fonz, but there was for sure something wrong because he was vomiting up a substance that no one could identify and he kept chanting a sad song in an unknown language.
It's not ringing a bell. What else happened? Something else might jog my memory.
Well, I remember Mr. C went, I don't know, Marion. Maybe this sickness is punishment for the many sins committed by the Fonz. And I was like, whoa, cold-blooded.
It was a Mr. C and Fonz episode? I love those. They're great together.
But then the sickness spread to Joni's friend, Jenny Piccolo, and she started chanting too, and geez, it was extremely fucked up episode.
Here we go. I found an episode description. The Fonz got sick in season 11, and the episode only aired in Japan? To the prisons. How did you see it, Mikey?
My brother found a VHS tape deep in a cave with warnings carved into the walls. I got scared and stopped watching, but he sat through the whole thing. Come to think of it, that's about the time when he started chanting that sad song in an unknown language.
Okay, you've convinced me. That sounds scary.
Okay, so great. We've got our costumes figured out. Sad, scared Fonz. You're going to be a werewolf.
Yeah.
Halloween 2. It's happening July 15th. That is in, 2 weeks? July 15th. Dress up. We'll have a special Halloween 2 episode where we'll have a little Halloween party. We'll invite all the monsters from the scary basement to dress up.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
I've been noticing a couple of them looking over very expectantly. I think we're going to have a good turnout. They look pretty hyped. Or maybe they want to eat us like usual. They look a little hungry. But maybe it's hungry for fun.
It could be hungry for candy.
Yeah, and candy. Both of those things at once.
Halloween 2 is going to be the one day when we relax our rule that we don't give the monsters creeping around the scary basement anything sweet. We're going to let it go for Halloween 2. That's how much we're excited about it being an event.
Heck yeah. I have to make some good candy purchases. Where am I going to start? I love candy, Mikey.
What's your favorite candy, Roxy?
Oh, it's a hard pick because I like a lot of like candy flavors, and then there's stuff like Reese's, which are just always going to be good. I love a Twix. I love a Snickers. I love like mint chocolate things, which is always good for like Christmas time. You get a lot of those flavors. I don't know. What about you, Mikey? You have a like all-time favorite candy bar?
I think I'm a 1A, 1B kind of guy. Like Reese's is 1A, Kit Kats are 1B.
Oh, Kit Kats are also very good.
Milky Way, 1C.
I'm just not like a big like gummy or kind of like artificial sugar type thing. Well, I mean, all of the other chocolate candy bars will be.
Yeah, that was a lie.
Yeah, that's not what I should have said. I guess like the ones that are just outwardly, like gummies are good, but like I'm never going to choose, a Gushers over a Snickers or something.
Oh, absolutely not. No,
Yeah.
Fruit candies I think can go to hell, personally.
Well, you heard it here first, Mikey dunking on fruit candies.
And speaking of going to hell, here comes the Demon Bot.
There he is.
Mikey and Roxy, I know you are excited about Halloween too, but first you have another movie to watch. The 2014 film Annabelle, directed by John R. Leonetti and starring Ward Horton, Annabelle Wallace, and Alfred Woodard. If you do not, your souls shall be forfeit and I will claim your bodies as my own.
All right, Roxy, so for next week, we are going to watch the movie Annabelle.
Okay, the first Annabelle movie of
First
several.
Annabelle. It's just titled Annabelle.
Just Annabelle. Just Annabelle.
Let's make a bet. What do you say?
Let's do it.
How many times in the movie Annabelle do you think they will say the word doll? Keeping in mind that Annabelle is a doll.
Yeah, I actually don't know if I've seen this movie before. I don't think I have, or if I did, I blanked it out. So I have no idea. I'm assuming they're going to, like, be holding the doll or something. Maybe someone will be like, here's this creepy doll. I don't know. 10 times? The movie's maybe like 2 hours? 10 times in 2 hours?
I am going to Price is Right style one-up you and say 11 times.
Ooh, okay. Well, all right then.
The bet's locked in.
The pact has been sealed. I mean, the bet is confirmed. Whoever is closest to the number of times the word doll is said in the film shall be declared the winner. The winner will receive this Raggedy Ann doll. It is not haunted or anything. I pinky swear.
Roxy, we've been talking about a lot of scary stuff this week. Hisgees. Cool kids thinking you're lame.
Yep. Scariest of all.
Let's end by talking about something that's making us happy. What's been making you happy this week?
So we're recording this before I have done this, but it will come out after I've done this, so I can say it here and now.
Ooh.
Because my parents are slowly actually making their way through our podcast. They're not going to be caught up for a long-ass time. So I get to surprise my mom with a visit next week, which, like,
Aww.
I haven't seen her in a while, and, like, she's going through some health stuff, and every time that we have, like, a group family call, she's always like, man, I wish I could just hang out with you guys. I could just see you, could just go over to your house, give you dinner or something, or just, we could go out shopping somewhere. And so me and my dad have devised me coming to surprise her. So I'm literally just going to knock on the door, and she's going to open the door, and I'm going to be standing there.
That rules.
So we'll see what happens. I'm very excited to be able to, I don't know,
She
maybe...
clubs you with a bat.
Who are you?
Roxy, you startled me.
Jump scare my mom. So that's going to be fun. And hopefully I'll have some fun stuff that we do while hanging out and everything that I can put on a different episode of What's Making Me Happy that week.
Perfect.
So what about you, Mikey? What's making you happy this week?
I'll tell you what's making me happy, Roxy. There's a YouTuber name of The Beast. THABEST.
Okay, so not Mr.
Beast.
The Beast.
The Beast.
Okay.
And he's really good at playing Super Mario Maker, which is where I heard of him initially. But he has just started. He's been doing it for a long time. I just found it. A series where he plays through every Nintendo 64 game. And he makes a video about each game after he beats it. And what's especially funny to me about this particular YouTuber, his name is The Beast, and I had only heard other streamers talk about him because he's so good at Mario Maker. When I saw him, he's kind of like a sarcastic, nerdy, like stringy kind of guy.
Okay.
He is not a beast. He is decidedly not a beast. And it was very funny for me to see him the first time. I thought it was very funny that his name is The Beast. The videos are great. We'll link his YouTube channel. Just seeing him play through like bizarre, like Japanese only Nintendo 64 games and struggle with them. It's very fun.
That's great. That sounds really fun. I want to look those up too. That sounds really neat. And also, it's just funny when you see the dichotomy of, like, somebody's screen name versus how they look, like, in real life, you know? You know, just like how the Fonz, his really cool screen name, and then he ended up being some sort of sick demon when you actually see him. Not quite as cool.
Yeah, it was just in the episode.
Yeah.
Roxy, each week, the demon bot hires a new monster to guard the basement door, and each week, we still escape. Let's see who's guarding the basement door this week.
Okay. Mikey, is that what I thought it was? That noise?
It's a T-Rex, Roxy.
Oh my god. It sounds just like Jurassic Park. Wait, that's a bad thing, though. I don't want to run into a T-Rex. They got a real T-Rex.
Okay. Roxy. Our best bet is to stay perfectly still, because T-Rexes can sense your movement.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really remember. How do they deal with T-Rexes in the first Jurassic Park?
They just stay still.
They ate that guy when he was in a toilet, and those kids were
Roxy,
in a car?
you're still moving.
Okay. How long do we have to stay?
Until he goes extinct. It happens to all dinosaurs eventually.
Oh my god, Mikey, we're going to be here for like 1 million years, aren't we? If they just brought a new one.
Listen.
Is this starting as year 1 of like him not being extinct? Didn't it take like 1 million billion years for the dinosaurs to originally go extinct?
There's no other choice. We have to wait it out.
Mikey, I'm pretty sure the dinosaur's going to beat us in that age game. Are you telling me to die? I'm just going to walk back down these stairs. Mikey, come on. He can't see down here.
What if he can?
Mikey's just going to live upstairs, and I guess I'll live in the scary basement, which is also not ideal. But at least I can talk in a normal tone of voice. Mikey, I'll bring you some snacks later when he's not looking. You cool with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Now I just got to find a way to open up my secret snack hiding spot.
You're what? And that Peyton and his friends will become his next victim. I got excited and I punched my mic.